Big hello there, we're at the Great Electric Train Show today, and I'm really grateful that I've got Lawrence Robbins, who you might remember from Biggest Little Railway, as the leader of Team A. Today's video is sponsored by Train-O-Matic, makers of DCC decoders designed to be fully compatible with every manufacturer's locomotive. So, Lawrence of the A-Team, I believe your Twitter handle is. It's great to see you, and you're quite an early riser here. You're in through the doors at the head of the charge.
Well, I'm excited. Finally, after a very long wait, we're actually back at a real live exhibition with real people. We were all ready to go in March of 2020 with El Forma Ali Pali, and then literally 3 days before the show, government restrictions meant that we couldn't proceed.
Yeah, because I was down to exhibit at that, and we were really looking forward to it, but the COVID thing was building, and that was kind of the first big casualty of the COVID lockdown that we've just got through. But now that we're seeing things start to open back up, this is like the first big show, and it's going to be great to see how it goes this weekend.
I'm excited. We've seen a few local shows. Our colleagues in the heritage railway industry have also been able to successfully put on events. I was at the Severn Valley Steam event to see Lady of Legend, and that was extremely effective whilst very COVID safe. But what we've not yet seen until today is how we would get on in a large exhibition hall. Now, I quite understand why some clubs and organisations have not felt comfortable putting on an event in the end of 2021. You have to make decisions very early. There's a financial commitment, and some clubs cannot take the financial risk.
Because I guess they've already had one financial hit in having to cancel last year, and I think there's some clubs that have taken the view that it's better for them to wait until they've got full certainty. But it's nice to see that in a way this is trailblazing. It's proving what is going to work in this new era that we face.
Yep, and I got here early and I wasn't knowing what to expect. So to arrive at 9 o'clock, the doors opening at 9:30, and to be 50 to 70 people back in the queue was very comforting.
Yeah, well actually I was talking with Hornby magazine, and they said it's actually a record year for ticket pre-sales. Previously, I think last time it was held, it was 1,700 advance tickets. This time they've sold 2,500. So it's a big uplift, but they're not quite sure yet whether that's people who would have otherwise come and paid on the door have decided to book in advance. So they won't know for certain, but certainly it's a very promising outlook for the start of this show.
It is. One of the things we've seen through COVID is that it's actually helped the hobby. People have been stuck at home, or what are we going to do? Or some have done jigsaws, some have done other hobbies, but quite a number of people have come into the marketplace. And we know from the information coming from people like Hornby, from the retailers, that sales are up. What we're now looking to see is whether that translates in new families coming through the door. I've seen a lot of the old friends today, people I know from the exhibition circuit for many years. The question now is whether those families who've come into the hobby in the last 2 years will now stick a head over the parapet, come out to exhibitions and find that wonderful inspiration that you get from seeing people's layouts, and also products that are not yet in the shops but are here in prototype.
And actually one of the great things that I've seen at today's show is we've got some new announcements. We had Rails yesterday announced the 18100 as a follow-on from their gas turbine, the Kerosene Castle. They're also doing that in its later rebuilt AC electric guys, and that was announced yesterday. Today we've got some announcements from KR models. So we're getting the Bulliard double deck electric unit. They've also got the Pelbrick wagons as well, and there's an amazing Shay and Torpedo wagon. So really we're spoiled for new arrivals. But I've also seen as well, I think one of the things that people do look at shows is the second hand, and it's a really good spread of some quite value for money models out there for people who may be on more of a budget, and it's great to see that that is not forgotten in the hobby.
I think the second-hand market's never been stronger. One of the ways that the Model Railway Club generated income at Pally was our second-hand store. And we know from the inquiries in the first hour that it was one of the places people tended to visit. Because, as you say, everybody's on a budget to an extent.
Yes.
We all have a bargain. Our issue was we had all the stock and nowhere to sell it.
Yeah.
I'm happy to tell you that the Model Railway Club now has a very successful online shop for second-hand stock.
Oh, right.
And it's been a massive success for the club.
That's brilliant.
It has run through the entire of the COVID situation. It will continue to run. There are some fun things on there. There's some wonderful bargains on there. But it does allow people to not necessarily need to attend an exhibition to find good quality second-hand stock.
Yeah. And it's like going back to what we were saying before, one thing that lockdown's actually done is it's brought a lot more people, maybe even back to the hobby. And I know certainly from my point of view, I've seen a lot of people who said that maybe they had a model railway in their childhood and they've used lockdown as an opportunity to revisit that hobby. And actually, hopefully we're going to see a lot of these people stay within the hobby and breathe new life into it.
I think the most unusual product for me was when Simon Kohler announced the Hornby family hamper.
Yes.
And this filled that little niche between the train set and the model railway.
Yeah.
It allowed people to actually get together, work on the idea of scenery and models, but within a limited parameter. I thought it was a brave move. But there's no question it has sold and sold and sold.
I think it's sold out now.
It has completely sold out.
They've done something right there, because if it's sold out, that's job done.
It's job done.
And it's something that we saw actually off the back of when Great Model Railway Challenge happened, that we saw a lot of families getting into the hobby where they saw it as they could build something as a family unit, rather than one person disappears up into the loft to their little empire. It was the whole family getting together to build a model, and I really liked seeing that.
I love it. Whenever you saw an early Hornby catalogue when I was a child, it was always father and son. Now, it was a different era, but it was father and son enjoying that together. Occasionally he had a pipe on his mouth.
Yeah, definitely.
But we knock Hornby. There are other superb manufacturers out there, and I'll come to them in a minute. But we've got Hornby coming back onto our TVs from the 10th of October on the Yesterday channel. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I've also seen another familiar face.
Yeah, there's some reprobate in that trailer. It looks like they're involved. God, they get involved with everything, don't they? But all model television is good television. It is, really is
absolutely brilliant. Now, as I said, I've been able to see a few of these models that are just coming onto the shelves. We were able to preview the kerosene cars, L18,000. That had an outing on the MRC test tracks.
Yeah.
We've also seen the unmotored version of the Curascale Deltic.
Oh, have you? Great.
And that is one solid beast.
Right.
Now, we know that when BRM tested the Murphy's model version of the mechanism, they ran out of coaches at 23. They hadn't got any more coaches to put behind it. He was happily pulling 23.
Right.
We are now talking to Curascale because the MRC test tracks are a bit bigger. We will hopefully, when they can let us have a working Deltic, have at least 40 coaches available, and we're going to just see what that will do. Now, in the real world, apart from something like Pete Waterman's layout, nobody runs scale-length trains. Yeah,
but it's interesting to see what the model will max out at.
It will indeed. But there is some superb variety coming through, and there's superb quality.
Oh yes, definitely.
Now, of course, this is also the second and last outing of Pete's West Coast Main Line.
Definitely. So that's been at Chester Cathedral. It's had a really good show there. So it's now here at the Great Electric Train Show, and certainly it's a showstopper. It's a huge layout, but the standard of the modelling on that is really, really good as well.
And yet it was built in COVID for in a very limited time scale.
Yeah.
And it went to Chester Cathedral because Brassey, who was the constructor behind 25% of the world's railways, is buried there.
Right.
So the Dean and Chapter of the cathedral commissioned this layout, and I had the privilege of going up to see on setup day. The lighting conditions were fascinating because trying to get a decent photographic shot when the light is flooding in through stained glass windows gives a fascinating colour cast.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But 64 feet is a scale mile.
Yeah.
And that means that you are seeing a length of model railway that you won't see at many shows, but I know Pete has spent hours making sure that the right speed is keyed into the DCC so that each train travels at an accurate speed over the layout.
Yes.
The quality of work and the thought that's gone into this layout is remarkable, and the speed at which it's been created, even more so. And yet now it's going in the bin.
What, they're actually going to bin it?
Well, rework is possibly a fairer phrase.
Right.
But it's been, version 2 has been commissioned to go back to Chester for next summer.
Excellent.
So this will be rebuilt and yet be back in the cathedral for next summer.
Excellent.
And there are rumours that version 3 will run not for 64 feet, not for 74 feet, but for 174 feet.
Oh, that would be amazing.
That is 2.5 scale miles. Now, I'm fascinated to know where you could exhibit such a layout. I'm not even sure the cathedral's that big.
Yeah.
But this will be one of 2 massive layouts that are now going to be in production. The other one, of course, there's a wonderful 164-foot version of oak gauge that's being produced as well. So people have gone from the very small layouts that we so often see at these exhibitions, which are great fun as people shunt them and or run their motive power depot, to just being able to watch trains going past in almost a train spot away.
Yeah, and I think that's great. People often underestimate the amount of space that a real railway takes up, so it's great to see models built to actually represent the scale distances that these trains run through. And then, of course, the scale length trains really look great running through that miniature landscape because everything's in scale to everything else.
Yeah, we know that the landscape was there and the railways were built through it. The challenge for any modeller is to put the railway in and then put the landscape so that at the end it looks exactly as if.
Because that was always the big faux pas. When I was growing up, you'd have this perfectly flat layout and the railway would make a beeline to the only hill just to tunnel straight through it. But that's part of the fun of model railways. But look, it's been really great having a talk with you, Lawrence. Great to see you again.
Well, I'm going to get back out on the exhibition floor because I want to see a few things. I want to chase down a few bargains. Well, there's still some left.
Oh, definitely. And like we said before, there is so much great stuff out there on the floor. So it's one that's well worth coming to.
And then I'm looking forward to seeing you on yesterday.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, when's that on? Tomorrow? No, yesterday.
Cheers, Jenny.
No problem. Thank you very much. And anyway, thank you very much for tuning in and watching this. I'm Jennifer Kirk saying you take great care of yourself. Happy modelling. Take care. Bye for now. Today's video is sponsored by Train-O-Matic, makers of DCC decoders designed to be fully compatible with every manufacturer's locomotive. Visit train-o-matic.com to browse the full range and see what they've got suitable for you. I'd like to send out a huge thanks to everybody who supports me on Patreon, and an extra special huge thanks goes out to Anthony Kidson, Offshore Allen, oorail.co.uk, Michael Lockie, Helen Sink, Peter Bolton, Brian and Dorothy Mudd, Gary Lewis, David Quinn, Sparky107107, George Botterini, Chris Moss, Robert Steers, MD of San Juan Model Company and Grantline Products, Sam Yates, Dale Williams, John N from NC, NYMRish, Jonathan Foster, Peter, Graham Foster, Clifford Ison, Larry W. Grant, NI Railways 4000 class, Ian Coulson, and Alan Dickerson. Thank you. Without you guys, I couldn't do this.